All right, welcome to another episode of Clear Lake Connections, where we talk to the people behind the businesses of the Bay Area, Houston. We are proudly sponsored by UTMB Health. Today I have Rob Carlson with the San Jacinto College SBDC, which stands for Small Business Development Center.
That's correct.
Okay. Tell us about the Small Business Development Center and what it is you do there.
Okay. I'm a business advisor at the Small Business Development Center. What it is, we are funded by the Small Business Administration of the federal government to support small businesses in our area. People wanting to start a business, people already in business. I have some clients that are trying to sell businesses, others trying to start or buy businesses. So a variety of assistance we can provide to them. Over the past year and a half, as you can imagine, a lot of our work has been focused on the pandemic, the COVID disaster, and helping people get government financing, disaster funding, and things like that.
And tell me, it's kind of unique because here we are, we're in the studio at the Chamber with Little Lens Media, which is a great partnership. But the partnership that you guys have with the Chamber, it's such a natural fit. I mean, how does that work for you?
Well, I think it's a good relationship both ways. We can provide some value added to their membership in the Chamber, as well as we are out here in the community. We're not, on a campus somewhere and people have to come to us. And in fact, that's one of the reasons we have offices out in the community. So we're where the people are, where the businesses are, and we go to them rather than them coming to us.
And so and you're open to anybody in this region, right? I mean, if I want to start a small business, what's the process of me getting in touch with you guys? Okay. And
sure. What it is, before we can work with any clients, they have to become officially clients. There's an online registration process. It takes maybe 5-10 minutes to fill out. Once that is done, we will get information about it, and the director of the San Jacinto College SBDC, Herb Hildebrand, he'll assign the new client to one of the advisors, himself or myself plus one more person.
So, and then when you do meet with those individuals, let's say it's somebody wanting to start a business. Sure. Walk me through what that would look like.
Well, one of the things I like to do first is try to get to know the person, their background, their education, their experience, what they've been doing in their life. It's good to understand where they are financially. Mm-hmm. I like to ask what their credit score is, and if they have money of their own to invest in the business, if it's required. So you try to get a feel for where they're at, and then you want to find out what they want to do. Some people do things that don't require a lot of money. Others, they need to get funding for their business. And so on that basis, then we can see where do we go to start the process in working with them.
How did you get into this line of business?
There used to be a commercial on TV about the guy that bought the razor company because he liked the razor so much. Well, actually, I started out as a client of the SBDC, a former job. I was president of a small company, and we were looking at starting a new line of business. And we talked to somebody who says, hey, you got to meet with the SBDC people. And so I did, met the man who is now my boss, Herb Hildebrand, and we dealt with him for about a year and a half. Unfortunately, the company I was president of, it was foreign owned, and the parent company decided, you know what, rather than look for a new business line, we're just going to close it down. So Herb and I kept in contact, and every couple of 3 months would have lunch, and he kept saying, one time he says, you know what, we're going to have an opening. Are you interested? 'Cause at that point, I was retired. And says, well, maybe. But anyway, you can see I'm sitting here in this chair, so that's how I did it. My background going back further has largely been working in Japanese-owned companies.
Okay.
I've worked here in Houston, in Alabama, California, and then 2 years in Japan. And nice thing was, with the work I did, I got to deal with a lot of businesses, primarily here in the U.S., but also some in Europe and in Japan. And so I saw business at all different levels. I worked for a large multinational Japanese corporation in the aerospace field, and that's one of the reasons I came to Houston, because I was involved in the space station program. I've worked for small companies. I've owned my own consulting businesses. Just a lot of experiences. And now this is the perfect job.
Yeah.
I mean, I admittedly don't know everything about anything. I know some things about some things, and I don't know anything about several more. But with the job and the resources we have available to us, it's really good to be able to be in a position where you can kind of pay back those people.
But it's also nice because you have that background, and so you've been there, and I love it because what was the old commercial? I'm not just the president, I'm a client, or whatever. Was that Hair Club for Men?
Yeah.
It's a special layer of kind of a credibility.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the experience is important. It's like hiring a consultant that's never worked in your industry. Is okay. Do you really know what's going on? Well, yeah. But most of us have decades of experience working in various aspects of the industry.
So without naming names, can you tell us about a client that you had recently that's just exceeded expectations, and even, you know, you look back and you're like, wow, this was amazing from start to finish?
That's a great question. I think one of my favorites, and it's not a success yet because it's still moving forward. The pandemic has impacted it. But it's a company that is going to be exporting their products from the U.S. to Nigeria. And it's just been fun to go through the process of helping the person get financing, to get the business set up. And really, I serve as a brainstorming resource, if you will. There's expertise she needs that I have, as well as some of the things we just explore together. But it's been a really good experience. That one is one of my favorites just because it's so different.
So we talked about getting out of the business, but I'm sure the most fun part is people actually getting into business. And, you know, people say all the time, oh, I'm going to start, I should start it.
Yeah.
What are your top 2 or 3 tips or things that you believe that somebody who thinks they want to start a business absolute has to know those 2 or 3 things?
Number one is, are they cut out to own a business? And there's no real easy way to identify that, but the person has to be willing to take a pay cut, most likely. They're going from, if they have a job now, a steady paycheck, to nothing steady, except that your bills are going to be there. Yeah. You've got to develop yourself. So it has to be somebody that really understands this isn't easy. It isn't going to be a smooth transition. There will be problems. And somebody can deal with uncertainty, because there will be a lot of that as you're starting a business. So that's one thing. What I would say, can they handle uncertainty? Another thing is, can they financially do this? Do they have the means? If they need a paycheck, to pay the bills month to month, starting a business is tough. So oftentimes what I recommend people do is keep your job, because once you quit your job, you can no longer get a bank loan. Yeah. Because you have no income. And you can say, well, look at my projections. Well, those are just hopefully intelligent estimates, but they're still projections. And if you have no income or no financial resources to be able to repay a loan, bankers aren't going to want to talk to you very much.
Well, I think anybody that's watched Shark Tank knows exactly what you're talking about. I mean, that the projections are just that,
Yeah. And so, kind of financial resources to go along with, is their character suitable for that? Expertise, experience in whatever business you want to go to. I think one of the fallacies is that well, I can just step in and do a business. I don't need experience. Well, if you're going to fund the business yourself, go ahead. You can do that. But if you're seeking outside financing, they want expertise.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know that you really do know the business. You really do know what you're doing. Otherwise, they won't touch it.
Your role sounds really interesting to me because I think people are coming to you and you're offering them a level of honesty that requires them to do some introspection. You're not just a cheerleader saying, yeah, let's start a business. You're actually asking those hard questions that gets them thinking about, okay, you're challenging them basically with honesty.
Well, and one of the things we do, we'll have a lot of people approach us that have not run a business before or may not have worked in a business or a company where they were really involved in running the business.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of people, we have a lot of them. I enjoy them. I work with a lot of them. But what we do before we will meet with them, we require them to watch 2 recorded webinars, Starting Your Business, Part 1 and Part 2, about an hour and a half each. And we say, after you've watched them, reach out to me and I'll set up an appointment. I'd say at least half of the people never come back. Because I think when they watch those 2...
How scary is that webinar?
Well, I don't know.
It must be brutal honesty.
Well, no, it's not. But I think what it is, it shows there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not like, say, for example, I want to start an online business, some type of retail. There's a lot of work to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of requirements. It's going to take some money up front, even if you bootstrap it. So you've got to realize that it's going to be a lot of work. You're going to probably work a whole lot more hours than you do if you have a current employment. And the money you get out of it for a while is going to be a whole lot less, most likely.
Yeah. And you'd be doing people a disservice if you weren't upfront with them like that. I mean, that's really, and it's nice to hear it from a detached third party.
Yeah.
And, we always talk about in business, consultants come in and, people make fun of it. But if somebody that's kind of not intimately related to the business or your family, because I'm guessing families tend to be, start a business, sounds great. You need that detachment so that you can have that conversation with people and kind of make them think about it.
Yeah. Well, and it's a fine line because, you want them to go through a process of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Am I really cut out for this? Is it a good fit for me? Some people it just isn't. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. A steady paycheck is a steady paycheck. It's not a bad thing. And I think one of the things we've seen throughout the pandemic is there are more people that are considering starting a business simply because they don't have a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't had a lot of options. And I understand that, but still you have to think from a long-term perspective, is this something I'm really cut out for?
Yeah.
For example, if I'm essentially an introverted person, well, if I'm going to be involved in a business that requires me to be out there selling, contacting people, I've got to decide, over the next 10, 20 years, am I willing to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for everybody.
No, and you're right, because we've had guests on, and you could just tell they're going to be successful because they are so extroverted. They are, they're gregarious, and you can tell that, and they understand that business, a lot of it is about relationships.
Yes.
And if you're not good at forming those relationships, so it's very reassuring for me to hear that you put such an emphasis on that early on, because mistakes are better made early than late when it comes to business,
and they're a lot less expensive.
Yeah. So how do we get in touch with you if we're interested in getting some advice from the SBDC?
Well, one of the ways would be through the chamber. The chamber people, they know how to get hold of me. I have my office right on the other side of this wall.
Okay.
And so, I'm here frequently. Now, I do move around, go out to meet clients elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my home base, and the chamber is a wonderful way to do that. Otherwise, they could probably Google San Jacinto College SBDC, and it'll pull it up, and there should be a link there where they can contact us. The other way would be we do have an email address. It's sbdc@sjcd.edu.
Okay.
So the Small Business Development Center at San Jacinto College District, and then edu.
Awesome. Anything else you want to tell the audience before we part?
You know what? If you want to start a business, really think about it. Realize there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, and don't be afraid of it. But be realistic about what your interests are and what your capabilities are.
Excellent. Such a pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce members and Bay Area Houston. If you're a business wanting to expand your customer base, give back to your community, think about the quality of life around Clear Lake area, think about joining the Chamber. Go to clearlakearea.com for more information.